Today is the 22nd Sunday in ordinary time, and today we are presented with the law of God which gives life. Abiding by God's law brings joy, brings life, brings happiness, leads to eternal life. Last Sunday, we saw Joshua asking the people to make a choice between the living God and then the false gods. Choose for yourselves whom you will serve. But then he said, but I and my household, going by the experience and encounter of God, we will serve the living God. The people of Israel also accepted to serve the living God. That choice continues, that invitation to make choice. And this choice is based on the freedom, the free will given to us by God at creation. He made us free and free to choose the will of God or to uphold our own will against God's will. But whichever choice we make has its own consequences. As it has been said, that the gift of freedom is the best gift God has given to humanity. However, its abuse also has the worst of its own consequences. And that is why today a choice is important for us to sit down, for us to reflect, for us to discern, and then choose which way to go. Sometimes we feel that laws, commandments are given to hinder our freedom, to curtail our freedom. It is not so. Those laws are given as guidelines to lead to life, eternal life. They are values on how we ought to live. And Moses leading the people of Israel out of Egypt, out of slavery, and almost leading them into the promised land, has to make them to choose, to decide, because of course they could be influenced by the people around them when they enter the promised land. And that is why they have to choose, make these choices. He was the great leader. And he said, you may have life and may enter and take possession of the land if you abide by the commandments that I lay down for you today. It is the commandments that gives life. Abiding by it brings his own life. God will not give us any law, any commandment that is not for our own good. He will not prescribe for us a way of life that will lead to our own destruction. I think the problem we have is that we are more concerned with the temporary presence that we forget about the permanent future of our lives. We want to enjoy now as if there is no tomorrow. We don't want to make sacrifices. We don't want to invest for tomorrow. And this is one of the deadly sins that Mahatma Gandhi talked about. Religion without sacrifice. We are not willing. We are not ready. We want to have our future now. One of our brothers, our friars in the community, always talking about people eating into their future. You eat now that tomorrow you are not able to eat. You live now that tomorrow you are not able to enjoy the life. We forget that there is eternity. And again, Moses invites the people, you must add nothing to the law that I set for you. And you must not take anything away from it. Keep it as I laid them down for you today. We Christians sometimes do selective acceptance of the commandments of God. I don't accept these ones. These ones are not appealing to me. They're not favorable to the kind of life that I have chosen. And these are the ones that I want. Like I said, God will not give us something that is not for our own good. But are we willing? Are we ready? We need to accept. We need to allow those laws to guide us, the commandments of God to guide us, to lead us to perfection, to lead us to eternity, to lead us to life. It is important. It is necessary. And what are these laws we are talking about actually? The law of love, love of God, and love of neighbor. You must obey that as Jesus summarized them for us. Upholding the dignity of of the person, of humanity, of human life. Living as God has invited us. And also understanding the spirit of the law. Why has God given us this commandment? And digging deeper into the first reading, we are looking at the eschatological future to that promised land, the New Jerusalem. Obeying the law of love, the law of charity that God has given us, that would eventually lead us into that promised land where we are going to enjoy life to the fullest, into heaven, life in heaven. But that heaven begins now in the choices we make, in the how we use our freedom, our free will. Choose for yourselves. Obey the laws as I command them to you. Many of our youths do not want to sow for the future, unfortunately, for a lasting benefits. They don't want to make sacrifices today. Many of us. These sacrifices are temporary, but the benefits are permanent. They are eternal. St. James, in the second reading, continues in this regard, making sacrifices, instructing us on what God requires from us. And he says, pure, unspoiled religion in the eyes of God our Father is this: coming to the help of orphans and widows when they need it, and keeping ourselves uncontaminated by the world. This says it all. The law of charity and the law of purity. Helping those in need. And expanding this, not just orphans and widows, because in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus will be giving us the criteria for acceptance into heaven. I was hungry, he gave me food. I was thirsty, he gave me to drink. I was naked, and he clothed me. A prisoner, and he visited me. Sick, and he visited me. So it doesn't matter who you do that for. Because whatever you do to the least of these, my brethren, you do that to me. So the law of charity, the law of chastity, the law of purity, the law of love, that is the commandment laid down for us today. And in the gospel, Jesus berates the adherents of human law while abrogating God's law. Such a kind of life is being hypocritical. The problem Jesus was correcting is the emphasis on dietary laws. I think this situation is relevant today as it was during the time of Jesus. Many a times, we are so much interested in what we eat. This is not good for you. It contains a lot of sodium. It contains a lot of sugar. It contains a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of starch, and what have you. But then we're not interested in the laws of spirituality, in moral laws. We go to the gym to maintain our bodies. But we're not interested in maintaining our spiritual lives, our moral lives, our relationship with one another. And today, Jesus is correcting that. Jesus goes on to list some of the evils that we should be mindful of, because they are the things that defile a man and they come from within. Fornication, avarice, and what have you. And these are the things that actually defile us. And this, in a way, means taking our own, upholding our own wills as against the will of God. That is the problem. That is what is being corrected. Again, today, let us listen to these words. Accepting the will of God, obeying the will of God, acknowledging the commandments that He has given us, and living by them, knowing that these are the things that keep us in good relationship with God. The things that come from within are the things that defile us. For it is from within, from man's heart, that evil intentions emerge: theft, murder, adultery, avarice, malice, deceit, indecency, envy, slander, pride, folly. All these evil things come from within and make a man unclean. I think we should sit down and use this for examination of conscience. No matter how little we fall into any of these categories, to expunge them from our lives and begin to make conscious sacrifices on how we live and relate with God, obeying and upholding those commandments of love that He has given us. It may be demanding, but the joy that comes with it is with us forever. And I pray for the courage, for the ability, for the grace, because we cannot do it by our own power, but it is with the grace of God that we can uphold this and live by it.